Yeah, here we will see that whatever is the macro that we have recorded, a code is generated for it in the background. So you just see, go into your macro, view macro. For the macro of yours, you do a simple step into. The step into will actually generate a VBA code. So with your name as country performance, this is your shortcut key. And before we actually dig down into it, it is, you see here, sort. The first thing we have done, right? And we have sorted on the B column, which is the runs column, right? In the descending order. And the entire sheet range was this much. This is the sheet range. Then we have scrolled down a lot. Now, okay, if I say, no, I don't want that scrolling down and all that stuff, because probably it was a mistake. So what I'll do is, I'll remove this entire scrolling exercise. It's the same thing happening, right? It is scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. That is what it is showing. So because of this scroll down, because of this present in the code, even our piece is also showing scrolling down, right? So let's say I will not have any of this code. Probably now when I run this code, it will not scroll down anymore. So you have to do the editing at this layer. Okay, then what did we do? Replace. So there is some code that got created, that selection.replace. We have selected something. In that selection we said replace. What? DNB. Replaced with this one, a space. And next time we have replaced the space with this one. So if I now say, no, I don't want these two different replacement, what I'll do is, here itself in the formula, I'll say DNB replace with this, and this part I'll remove. This is no more applicable. Some more betterment. Now what did we do after that? We did some conditional formatting. Greater than 125. On that column, whatever G column was the strike rate. Strike rate greater than 125, we have highlighted them with a green color. So it has put something to do with the green color. Some code for the green color. Now we cannot remember all these things. So what we have to remember typically is, what all cannot be recorded, what all are not possible through recording, what all is possible through recording, simply record it. Take that piece of code into your application. See, let's say, okay, let's complete it and then I'll give that scenario. Then, okay, we have done the recording. We have done the green color, conditional formatting. Then after that, what did we do? Okay, total runs code. We have typed some heading called total runs code, in which we have used a formula called sum. Right? The details I'll explain it. Then the centuries code, countif is the formula which we have used. Right? Then again some scrolling we have done. So probably just to avoid why this code is so big, at least the scrolling parts I can delete to make the code slightly smaller. Right? Then what did we do? We did some pivot table. There is some code it is writing for the pivot table. If I am not, if it is, if I really want, I don't need to remember the code for the pivot table. If at all I have to draw some pivot table also, I can simply record it and use that code. Right? If I have to create a pivot table, I just need to record it once. This is a code it is showing, right? So this workbook dot pivot dot create. So create a pivot table where, okay, this is the data which it is talking of. On this data, create a pivot table. Right? This is the destination where the pivot table is getting created. We have selected some destination. If we want to change that, we will change that later. Here if I change this small piece of code here, it will create in some other. Let's say I don't want it in sheet 1. I want it in sheet 2. Just change it from sheet 1 to sheet 2 here. A new pivot will be created in the new sheet. Right? So similarly, then okay, with that pivot table, we have selected opposition. Opposition wise something we said. Opposition, and then we have done the count of runs. Then we have made them as sum of runs. Similarly, average of runs. We have taken the average. And then we have again, and in that again we have set a conditional formatting. Top 10. Then again we have done some bottom 10. The same thing again with something else also, we have done the top 10 and the bottom 10. The first one and the last one. The runs as well as averages. So there is a top 10 and there is a bottom 10. So, and after that again some more scrolling. Right, okay, the scrolling part at least directly you can remove. Then we have used something like year. Got a year formula. Right. And after that 1974, 75, and then we have dragged it down up to 2012. And from there we have plotted, we have added a chart, and that chart is a line chart. That is what we have added. And these are the values. Something we have deleted there. That year should not be there on the y-axis and all. That's what we have deleted. And that's what our total. So whatever we have done, first of all, that entire thing is written as a part of the code. When you do a macro, it is written as a part of the code, right? See, one more way we can look at seeing what actually is happening in the background is what we call as a debugging. Debugging is more like go line by line. See what the system is doing with your line by line. So for that, just to see this, I'll let's say minimize this. Right, I'll make it smaller so that I can see both the Excel window as well as the VBA window side by side. Right, let's say this is my Excel window and VBA window. Now I would like to get into a debug to see what exactly is happening in Excel. With every line of code, what is happening in Excel. So let's say I start, I'll put, let's say a cursor here, saying from here you execute it. The moment that that brown circle comes, it's like from there, it will start executing it line by line. So when I say run, this here from VBA also I can do a running like this. So when I say run, so this step, it comes to this step. Arrow mark shows which step it is there. So when I keep pressing F8, it goes to the next step like this. Okay, now I keep pressing F8. Okay, so cells dot select. What has happened here? The entire thing got selected. This entire thing got selected. Now, okay, let's see some piece of code. Active workbook dot worksheet dot sheet1 dot sort. Some sort fields clear. Okay, some sorting fields got cleared. Now do the sorting. This is saying, the next line is saying sort on this, on the B column. That is what is the next step. So once I do another F8, okay, the sort got initiated. Now with that sort, okay, this is the range, headings. So some steps. Now when I say dot apply, the actual sorting has to happen. Now I come out of this step, you will see there is a sorting that happens. A sorting has applied on the Excel sheet. Now, okay, then what is what we are saying? Column B to B select. Now you see, once I come out of this step, only the B column is selected. Then, okay, find and replace something. DNB with this one. I come out of this, DNB got replaced with that space. No space. Then you are saying cells dot select. Cells dot select is again selecting your entire data. Again you are doing a resort. So again the same sorting. Apply. You are getting a new application. The sort is getting applied. Then similarly, column G to G is select. The G column is getting selected there. So that's how when we write one line of code also, actually we can do this debug mode. We can execute the program in the debug mode to see up to what step did the system execute. Where are we stuck? Because from the code probably I don't even know where am I stuck. But if I run it in a debug mode, okay, line by line it is executing. Line by line has some meaning. Right? So at least this will tell me up to what it did, it has executed properly. Which line of code is having a problem. Right? And probably is there a way, or how do I correct that particular line of code. That is what can be done through reading the code. Right? What does so if I say sort, what is the portion of the sort? Because I may want to use it in some other application. Right? Let's say I want to give a slightly improvised version on this. If for a country, right, for any country data I am taking, if the total is greater than 1 lakh, sort it on runs, otherwise sort it on strike rate. Right? So it's not a direct straightforward sorting. I am putting some rule to the sorting process. Rule based sorting. Rule based execution. Do a sort depending on the runs. Total runs code is greater than 1 lakh. Sort it on the runs. Otherwise sort it on the strike rate or something. Now, which means I really can't use a direct sort. For this country the runs may be lesser than 1 lakh. For some other country it may be more than 1 lakh. So the sorting has to be dynamic. It has to be a rule driven. Sorting I can still do using a recording. But that rule based sorting, I have to write the rule. In which case it has to sort on, because that is not an Excel task. I have to give it as a condition. An Excel formula also will not solve that. Right? So those are the things we are including as a part of the VBA code. The basic recording of sorting, sorted based on runs. I'll record it, take that piece of code. Sorted based on strike rate. I'll record it, take that piece of code. Now I have to join these two pieces of code with a condition. If total runs is greater than, if total runs is greater than 1 lakh, do this. Otherwise, do this. Get it? So that is where I'll always, for any of my business logic, I'll use the recording as well as specific VBA constructs, which cannot be done through recording. I have to actually write them. Specific VBA constructs together so that I can execute these kind of logics. Condition based kind of logics. Get it? Okay. So otherwise you can very well do this debugging to really see what is actually happening in the entire scenario. Okay, now if we see, okay, it is coming here. It is writing total runs code on the Excel. Then it is doing some kind of next, so it has selected the next cell. Then it is doing some kind of summation. Again, next is selected, centuries code is written. So whatever we have done in the regular Excel, the same thing is being written here also. So whatever we can do, whatever we can record, we can very well record it like this, and we can simply run the macro. And wherever the rule based or logic based recording is required, we need to actually start understanding the real VBA constructs. So now we will get into trying to understand some of those real VBA constructs. We'll go one by one by taking an appropriate example. We'll go one by one and try to improvise our writing of the code kind of a stuff. Right? So this is the way it flows. So whatever can be recorded, we don't need to bother. See, if sometimes you may ask, oh, do I need to remember this entire code? Why do I need to remember? Right? If I record, copy. At the end, we are not software programmers. Right? We are more of functional guys, business guys, who want to use this VBA and all for giving us the business result. Right? Not technology focused kind of thing. So we want to have the VBA understanding as easy as possible, but execute whatever we want. So which means, see, if I ask a technical guy, probably he'll remember this entire construct, or he'll take the help of VBA programming guide, the help which is present in the VBA programming editor to write that part. But as a business user, I would like to record it, even if it records some junk, so much of stuff which I don't require, but still I am with it. Because my intention here is not probably code optimization. My intention is more of business execution. My functionality should execute. My functionality should work, rather than thinking of did I write it in 1 line or 2 lines or 5 lines, because for majority of the applications it hardly matters. Right? So unless your application is, your code has gone to few lakhs of lines of code, then probably the performance is an issue at that point in time. But for regular stuff, right, it's again a trade-off. Do I sit and remember all the constructs, or quickly remember only 10-15 constructs, conditional based, or probably sometimes I may have to give some alerts. This value is greater than something. So remembering 15-20 pieces is more easy than remembering 200. For drawing a chart, why do I need to remember something? If I can directly plot a chart using the function, using that chart of Excel and record it, why do I need to remember this entire code? Which we'll talk about, okay, active chart dot set source data something and all this. Why do I need to remember this entire part? Record it once, you create a chart. These 5-6 lines are obviously automatically created. Copy these 5-6 lines wherever you want. So at least you know these 5-6 lines have come because I have initiated the recording of the chart. So this will be there always. Any data editing you want to do, okay. In this you don't want this as the location. You want some other data for which you want a chart. Just change that location, that's it. Or instead of line chart, you want a bar chart. Again, record once again with a bar chart. It will write whatever, Excel bar or whatever is the name it will write, let it write. You use that as it is. So, when you know Excel more, you can use a lot of Excel itself to automate the process. Right? So